Hey guys, Scott Fishman here. Today we have a great guest checking in just hours, days away from her big championship match, NWA Women's Champion Kamille, more than 600 days and counting as the NWA Women's Champion. Kamille, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I appreciate you checking in. I know how busy you are. Real quick, I know I just saw you post something working out with Natty and TJ. You flew right in yesterday, had had probably a long travel day, and then came in, and then you went right to the training center with Natty and TJ. Talk about what you got out of that experience and just why it was important for you to do that.
Well, the first thing I got out of yesterday was my fear of rental cars because the last time I had a rental car experience, it was terrible. So I was anxious all day about that. But hey, Thrifty, thank you, Thrifty. It was smooth and easy, so put them over. But I got my car and then I drove straight to where their training center is, which was also a bit stressful because I forgot how bad the traffic is here, like from Tampa going in toward the Orlando area. So what was a 37-minute drive turned into about an hour and a half drive. But finally made it to the training. And yeah, it was just great. And me and Natty, it's one of those things where we've been like friends on Instagram for a long time, but we haven't actually had the chance to I think we've met maybe in passing a time or two, but never like really got to talk and sit down and everything like that. And so being able to just get in the ring with someone that, first of all, like her family lineage is just obviously everybody knows the Hart family, and learn from her and just hear, not only like do stuff in the ring, but hear what she thinks about like the business side of things, and all of that was just super interesting to hear. And I'm very grateful that they let me come and join in on I guess you call it a school type thing, but I know that you have to like get invited to be there. So, just very lucky that they opened their doors for me.
Awesome. And just you've only been in the business, just a handful of years in retrospect when you think about it, and most of that time you've been on top as the champion. When you compare what you were when you first started and giving this opportunity to now, just talk about how you've been able to grow and build that confidence working, it's almost on the job training that you've been doing because everyone does these years of training and then they have their matches. We're seeing a little bit more now that if you've got it and you have the physical gifts and you just have that presence, then it'll work for you. So just talk about. I know you put a lot of work in as well. So talk just about
Mhm.
that transition and that evolution that we've seen over the past few years.
Yeah, so technically, and I saw this in my like pop up my Facebook memories the other day, and I started training 7 years ago, right? And so I was like, wow, 7 years, that's a long time. But then I look at it and really I trained for a year, and then I worked the indies for like 6 months, and then life happened, and I was done with wrestling, as I feel like any wrestler in the business at some point has been done with wrestling. and and then I got the call at the end of 2018 to come in as Nick Aldis's insurance policy. And so then that was 2 years of being in the NWA, but not wrestling. So I didn't really start like wrestling until I had my first match in 2020. And then COVID happened.
COVID, yeah.
And then so really getting into it at the beginning of 2021, and now it's 2023, so I'd say a good solid 2 years is how long I've been working. And yeah, it's just you said it yourself, it's just really a confidence thing and building that confidence, because when I first got the title, I mean, admittedly, so I was like, whoa, am I ready for this? Because I'd gone from having, I think, like 4 squash matches in the NWA to now I'm gonna have to transition to having these like championship worthy matches. And I truthfully, I have confidence in myself, but you have the also realistic part of your brain that's like, I don't know if I'm ready for this yet. And I think the fact that a lot of like my first, well, not technically because Layla was new, but like my first match that I won it from was Serena Deeb, and like getting in there with someone that has been in the business for so long and is just such a, not only an amazing wrestler but an amazing person, and like learning from her and getting confidence from her, kind of like set up my whole run. I would say, I think I actually texted her the other day just to like say thank you so much for like kind of setting me up for my entire run, really. And every match I'm like learning something new, I'm working with someone different with a different style, and like you said, it's just on the job training, and there's going to be hiccups here and there, but you just learn from them and keep going. And like you said, the confidence just keeps increasing, and I definitely think now I'm at the point where I know I can get in there with anyone in the world.
Was there a particular match that you're most proud of in recent memory? I mean, you've had some strong ones. I know there was a special one with Kylene and with Bully Ray being there on
Mhm.
commentary. One of your trainers, and I mean that he's so proud of you and your progression. But just kind of, is there one that you kind of look at? You're like, okay, I'm really proud of this because it's really showed how far I've come.
I would say that, so I have two different ones that come to mind. The first one that was kind of my, um some people say it's like a click moment in wrestling where stuff just to click. It was my first defense after Serena against Layla Hirsch, and it was at an Empower. And that was just sort of because, like I said, it was my first defense after winning it, and there was a lot of kind of pressure. And Layla was also a newer wrestler as well, so it's two newer wrestlers in there that are having to put on this match. And I think that we showed out, and everyone, the fans, had a great time, and it was really a nice moment for me where it was like, okay, you can do this, you're meant for this. And but then the one that you said that you mentioned, the show that I've come such a long way would be me and Taya at NWA 74,
Sorry.
because we had a main event that night. And so, and we had so many great matches that entire night, and we had to, top all of them and really put on a nice main event match. And I think we did just that. We showed both of our styles, how tough we can be, and that we deserve that main event spot. And so that's definitely a match that I'm super proud of. And once again, Taya is just a person that I love getting in the ring with. So it's really special for me.
How would you say, how invested do you feel Billy Corgan is with the women's division?
I think Billy's super invested in the women's division. I mean, Billy, everybody knows that as far as like the history of wrestling, he's so knowledgeable, and he loves wrestling. Like, he loves old school wrestling, and he loves the history of it. And so he respects things like he even got the Burt, which I hold, we call it the Burt, the women's championship title. He got the original Mildred Burke belt that he presented at that Empower show, and because he respects it so much and thinks it's such an important part of the history of wrestling. And if you watch NWA Women's Division, you'll see how hard hitting and intense all of the matches are. And like, that's what Billy expects from us. And so, like, when Billy is looking in to bring in new people, or who's gonna push, or whatever that is, he wants to make sure that we're giving the best matches and are hard hitting as we possibly can. So Billy is super invested in the women's division.
When you've held the championship for so long, I'm just curious. I mean, obviously, you're not looking to lose the title against Angelina Love on February the 11th, but mindset wise, I mean, do you mentally prepare? I know you go in always wanting to keep the championship, but it's going to be a big adjustment when that finally comes. And I think that might be a real test, and to see kind of, you're so associated with the championship. Now what? So how do you kind of
Right.
prepare yourself mentally for something like that?
It's like you said, I don't. I don't think about it, but you're totally correct. It is something that's, I mean, I'm used to. It was funny because it was an adjustment when I first got the title to remember to take it everywhere, or to remember to walk out with it around my waist. And now to walk out, without it around my waist, it would be the weirdest thing. And so I do think, yeah, that will be an adjustment. But it's that cliche saying of, it's not how many times you fall, it's how many times you get back up. And when slash if I ever do lose that title, I just think that it's gonna be okay. Now is your really like proving moment, because like you said, what are you gonna do now? And I think what I'm gonna do is just keep fighting, and I'm fine with starting from ground zero again and having to fight my way back up to regain the title. So I think that it's also an exciting time, as weird as that sounds, because there's sort of more things you can do and play with when you're not the champion. I don't know if that makes any sense, but there's sort of more options almost out there, and so I think it will also be an exciting time.
Um, of course, there's a lot of couples in wrestling. I mean, with you and Tom, just talk about your bond together, and then also how you got to work off each other, and also have that time where you're not talking about wrestling. I always find that really interesting.
Hmm.
How that dynamic works.
Yeah, so we met a little over 4 years ago. We had moved to Tennessee at the same time. And during that time, we'd already kind of started dating. And then he was working at a wrestling school as a trainer. And Billy kind of gave me the Iggy, like, we want you to eventually start wrestling, and so we want you to get in there and start training. And so Tom was not only my boyfriend, but then became my trainer, which at first I will say was difficult because it's like if you've ever played a sport and had your parents coach, it's sort of that same dynamic where it's like you don't want to listen to them, you know. But once I got over that initial like weirdness, it was fine. And Tom is, I would say, and I'm obviously biased, one of the best trainers there is. I mean, he's so intense, and every movement he does has meaning. And so I've learned so much from him, and I'm so grateful for that. And as far as working together, we love it because we are each other's best friends. And so we actually love being able to be around each other all the time and work together and travel the world together, even though when you travel, you don't actually get to really enjoy the places. But it's like, at least we've been to these places together. And something that we learned like forever ago is that wrestling world is over here and like our reality is over here. And so when we're home, not, you know, on a wrestling weekend or whatever, we don't talk about wrestling at all. We're watching like murder documentaries and crime shows and all that stuff. And so we just choose not to talk, because if we know, you know, a few people and their whole world is wrapped up and around it. And when your whole world gets wrapped up around something that is scripted, I feel like it becomes a little bit diluted and weird, and just, so we like to separate it completely.
So, you know, Valentine's Day is coming up. What is a date night like for you guys?
We actually have plans because we're going to be in Tampa, and we asked the person that books flights to get us a later flight because we're going to go eat at Texas Day Brazil. So
Ooh.
we're big eaters. So yeah, we're like, that's
Look
going to
out,
be our
Texas
date.
Day Brazil with the meat.
Yeah, because we have nothing like that in Nashville. Like the one they had closed down and around COVID and never opened back up. So we were like, we're here. Let's go eat some really good food, and that's gonna be our date night. Usually when we have like dates, it's going out to eat, or we'll just have like, if we've had a long wrestling weekend, we'll just have a total lazy day in bed and like watch movies and order in DoorDash and pretty simple stuff.
Yeah. I always find that interesting. You know, guys, you are always on the go, that you just being at home is like a big, you know, big night for you guys. So I love hearing that. You know, you mentioned, you know, having that late flight and having the dinner, but, you know, it could be a celebratory dinner for both of you. You both have big matches, at that show. Your match, of course, Angelina Love, a veteran, someone who's been around the business for so long, multi-time women's champion, really became immersed in NWA organically, kind of having this another run, and you're a part of it. Just talk about maybe what makes her stand out as an opponent for you and how you're kind of looking at this match.
Yeah, so I can sit here and I can talk all the crap in the world about Angelina being, you know, smaller than me and how I'm gonna beat her at. Well, I don't know if I should say the A word here, beat her butt. And but the fact is, Angelina, like she's a veteran. She's been doing this for a long time. And when she was part of TNA, I mean, she was a needle mover. And she got viewers and she got people watching, and I think she surprises a lot of people because not only is like she's beautiful and she's a smaller girl, but she's so talented and intense as well. And so, her as my opponent, like I said, I know obviously I'm bigger, so I have the advantage in that way. But she has that veteran status on me. I've never been in a no DQ match. I don't know all of her match history, but I'm sure she's been in a bit of a few scuffles, you know, here and there. And so she might have that advantage over me. And I think it's just going to come down, when it really comes down to it, who wants it more, because it is going to be a fight. Like I said, it's a no DQ match. So it's gonna turn into a fight. And obviously I need payback for her jumping me and Tom out of nowhere. I'm still a bit, you know, peeved
Right.
about that because we didn't even think that they were there. So, but yeah, I do have all the respect in the world for her, for all the things that she's done, not only to this point, but then, and two, like rebranding herself for the NWA now that she's with Fodder and kind of doing a new thing. I think it's going to be an interesting night, and the fans are in for a good one.
You think, how close are we to another Empower show? I mean, is that something you want to see?
Yeah, I definitely, the Empower show was, and I said this even leading up to the first Empower. I'm growing up, I always played sports with the boys. I was always like around boys and just in that kind of world. And so the fact of having like an all girls locker room, I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't know how this is gonna go. I might, but having it was not what I expected at all. Like it became such like a family thing, and everyone was really supporting each other and having a great time. And so I loved it. I ended up loving it, and I would definitely like to do it again. But I also said in previous interviews that I do think if it's something that happens like every single year at this time, maybe it's to be expected and is not as it kind of loses it being special. So I'm excited to see when I definitely think of power to happen. It's just really a matter of where and when. Um, and I think the fact that it didn't happen last year, it's going to be even more special, and so many people want it now. And I just can't wait for it to happen and see what sorts of talents all come together. Because like that's a special thing about it too, is that we had talents from all different companies come together. And so if we do it again, when we do it again, I'm hoping that we have that same dynamic of everybody coming in together and working together and having some matches that you couldn't normally see.
Right. I mean, it's great because we're seeing a lot more collaboration with companies. It
Mhm.
seems like there's a lot more options out there. If last question, just moving past Angelina Love, even though it's going to be a real test for you, obviously you want to retain the championship. What's next? You say, like, is there anyone on the NWA roster you think you haven't met before that you'd be challenged by? Is there anyone outside of the NWA that you have a dream match with? I mean, I know you just worked out with Natty, but
Mhm.
who out there is, if you had your pick, that you would want to work against?
If I had my pick of anyone, anywhere, any company in the world, I've thought about it a few times and it's changed a few times, and but like business wise and putting butts in seats and what people want to see, I'd say me and Charlotte Flair. She's the best in the world, and I think we have a good backstory leading into it and stuff that could lead into it. And I just think that to get in there with someone that is so talented, it could help me learn and grow. And like I said, I think it's something that people would want to see. I think we're around, I believe, like the same size and everything like that, and so that whole dynamic there, I think, would be really interesting.
Well, that and her dad being the NWA champion for so long, and she wanting to get that title. I mean, there's a built-in story
That's
there.
what I
I
mean.
just
Like
got
there's
goosebumps
a
thinking
great
about.
backstory for it. Yeah.
Yes, pretty amazing. All right, make that happen, Billy. Um, you know, uh, don't forget, fans, February the 11th, enough said, Kamille will go one-on-one with Angelina Love for the NWA Women's Championship. I'm excited because I have not seen this current incarnation of NWA live. Living in Florida, I haven't gotten that chance to go to.
Oh, you're gonna be there live?
Yeah, I'll be there, so I'm super,
Awesome.
super excited to see the atmosphere sold out.
Yep.
Never been in this venue. I've heard some good things about it, so definitely look forward to that. Just Kamille, just let people know how they can follow you. And just
Yeah, definitely. So on Twitter, I'm at Kamille with a K _brick. And on Instagram, I'm at Kamille Brickhouse. So I post about a little bit about non-wrestling, just life, and then a whole bunch about wrestling. And so that's how you can keep up with what I'm doing, my shows outside of the NWA and all that. And then, of course, follow NWA National Wrestling Alliance on Instagram and Twitter to find out about where we're going and what we're doing this year, because we're definitely traveling a lot more this year, and going to some new places and doing some new things. So it's a very exciting time.
yep. And then of course the YouTube show NWA Power, fans now can watch it more accessibility, which I'm excited about as well. Fight TV, pay-per-view, lots of things happening with the NWA. Looking forward to seeing what's next. Thanks for the time and good
Thank you
luck.
so much. I appreciate it.
Right.